another episode of Hard Factor, presented by the Barstool News Network. It is Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. Hold on, June 16th, 2020. I had to check that real quick. And guys, I got to admit it. I can't even tell the date. I'm just in horrible physical condition right now. Eating too much. My hair's way too long. I'm wearing the safari hat to cover it up.
Yeah, well, look at us. You can't tell the date because we just got out of the jungle. Looks like a couple jungle boys. Check out our outfits.
That's true. Go to youtube.com/hardfactornews to see a jungle theme for today. But also you guys know what tomorrow is. What's tomorrow?
The 16th.
It's What the Fuck Wednesday, when all of my energy is magically rejuvenated by the hilarious stories submitted by the Hardo Hive. Submit your stories now to get them read on What the Fuck Wednesday. Call in, leave us a voicemail at 512-270-1480 now if you want it to play on What the Fuck Wednesday or Florida Man Friday. Let's fucking go. But first up today, we've got three major headlines and then an interview with Julio Rosas, who's been covering all of the protests in the back end of the podcast. We've got also, we're on Barstool Radio again. We haven't been canceled yet, so we have more news on there. Another listener debate at 11 a.m. Eastern, so go to Barstool Radio on Sirius XM. Cole from Philly and Jake from D.C. go head-to-head. Sign up for a free trial.
Philly versus D.C.
Sign up for a free trial at SiriusXM.com to listen to that. Anything else you guys need before we get into this thing?
No, let's go. Let's
do the
get
show.
in there.
Let's do the show. Let's kick the show.
Oh, we have an interview today. Yeah, do the show.
Yeah.
Julio on the backside. So let's get to these stories quick. And first up, boys, we've got a landmark ruling by those sly bastards and bitches at the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court, SCOTUS, on Monday, voting 6-3 that LGBT people are fully protected from discrimination in the workplace, just like anybody else would be under the 14th Amendment. That's why I'm wearing this fancy rainbow tie today. It's Pride Month and a great ruling for Pride Month.
So we had 3 abstain. Is that what happened?
The three abstained. Yeah, believe it or not, it was a crime not everywhere before that for somebody to be fired in some places for their gender identification or sexual orientation. So, right, Pat, you might be surprised by the 6-3 vote. I was actually saying you might be surprised in the other way because the 6-3 means that 2 of the conservative justices, one of whom was a Trump appointee, the Silver Fox, Neil Gorsuch, they went over and sided with the liberal justices on this one, making it a 6-3 ruling. So not only did Neil Gorsuch, but also the Chief Justice, Roberts, he also sided with the liberal justices. And turns out they think gay people should have rights too. Would you look at that? It's 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Weird.
How about that?
I love the Supreme Court, man. We should rule our entire country with a tribunal of elders.
Well, that could get
Supreme Court. Yeah. Well, yeah.
They have the balances because it's supposed to work where you can get some crazy chief justices that really mix shit up from the Supreme Court.
They're on a heater, right? Like they did the California churches, and they did this. They're not really necessarily following the party lines. They're following their hearts.
That's what I love about it. That's what I love about it. You could be surprised when you're following SCOTUS.
Yeah.
There could be an upset, so to speak, to put it in sports terminology.
We like to make fun of how we're gonna have the oldest president of all time, no matter what. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and like some of those folks are.
Oh yeah, they're
pretty old.
They're pretty old.
Lifetime appointment.
And they only get older. They not a lot of them
true.
retire.
They only do get older. Mark.
They do the Joe Pa thing where some of them stay on until the bitter end.
Right, that's true. But Mark, it's harder. In theory, these people have been very vetted, the most vetted people of all time.
Oh, they're great human beings, better than you and I and Pat. Yes,
yeah, you'd hope so. Jeez. Anyways, even though it's cool with the old Silver Fox, Neil Gorsuch, and his buddy Chief Justice Roberts, somehow it's not cool with everybody that they took this ruling this way. Lots of talking heads on conservative media talking about Antonin Scalia spinning in his grave, et cetera, et cetera. And to those people, I'd say just relax. It's Pride Month. Have a drink already. Maybe put on a little.
Just relax.
Anyways, a couple related follow-ups here. J.K. Rowling still doesn't approve of trans people at all, apparently. Pretty clear she's not budging on that. So that's got to be a mental pretzel for a lot of people this week, having to appreciate Neil Gorsuch and hate J.K. Rowling at the same time. It's just,
You don't hate.
J.K. Rowling's going to write another Harry Potter book where all the spells are like turning you back to your original sex.
It's interesting. Yeah. This is an interesting feud she has with her entire fan base. Yeah.
Harry Potter, and there are only 2 genders.
Yep. That's the title of the next one.
That's a good point. Coming from a lady that
next book.
create a goddamn fantasy world of imps, and I never saw those things, but I know there was a bunch of not men and women walking around there.
Yeah.
She's writing about fucking wizards and shit.
Yeah. Well,
come on.
And Denver Riggleman, another guy who is into, a little something strange, potentially.
Love
a
Riggleman.
Republican in Virginia who's obsessed with Bigfoot porn. This is one of the first guys we covered on Hard Factor. He basically got kicked out of the Republican Party for officiating a gay wedding since we last talked about him. So what happened was Riggleman, who, was exposed for being a Bigfoot porn aficionado.
Bigfoot erotica. Well,
erotica.
please, that's,
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
It's different.
He wrote a book.
Yeah.
He's a published author about it. He officiated a gay wedding since we talked about him. Then the Republicans, they caught wind of that. They said, no, Bigfoot porn, okay, gay wedding, absolutely not. So they backed his primary challenger, and that included a full Trump endorsement. And so you add all that on top of his already outed Bigfoot porn addiction, and that's all she wrote for Denver Riggleman. R.I.P. to your political career, buddy. Should have come on the fucking podcast when we asked you the first time. Maybe we could have helped you out.
I bet we can get him now.
Yeah,
Riggleman's going to be fine, though.
Definitely could.
He owns a brewery in Virginia. I'm on his mailing list.
I have a feeling Riggleman's into just giant men in hindsight. Tall, hairy men. Yeah.
You guys remember we got Jake the Snake Roberts we went on that website Cameo.
He did a cameo.
We paid Jake the Snake $150 to call Riggleman out for his Bigfoot porn addiction, which is that was one of my favorite things we've ever done.
Yeah, well, and Riggleman didn't
awesome.
come on the show after. Maybe these outfits will entice him. Come on. What do you think
Ever
about
since that cameo, Jake the Snake's been doing amazing, by the way. That was like the turnaround for him.
No, but until very recently.
He broke
shit.
his hand or his arm.
Oh, let's cut
You might
that
want
in
to check up on that.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
No word if it was snake
I'm not
related.
up on my... Oh, no. Okay, well, let's move it along. Good news, guys. President Trump said he will sign an executive order on policing today. Give me the pen. Give Donnie his favorite pen, the EO pen.
Loves that picture. Nothing like a Trump holding an executive order picture.
Give me the pen. Yeah, it's good news indeed. A lot of tension around this whole policing topic. And it isn't signed yet, so no one knows exactly what's in it besides the Trump administration. But there have been, some leaks to reporters, or what we assume is going to be in it are things like the package should include the database to track police officers that have multiple instances of misconduct and violence and stuff, and then have them, not be hired at other departments if they try to leave.
So just the best part of the policing act, the one
that's correct.
So he's just doing it. He's just
expediting it. He's just EOing it.
Okay.
He's just taking the credit. Yeah. I mean, give Donnie the pen. And then also there's some stuff, language encouraging police departments to involve mental health professionals when dealing with issues of homelessness, mental illness, and addiction. I don't know if that means like side by side, bring like a social worker or something, that type of thing with the police force.
There's also all the best ideas that everybody. Okay.
Likely to be a federal grant funding for police forces that will meet a certain certification or criteria for trainings related to use of force. So if you prove that you spend a lot of time on use of force, you might get more funding. But again, we got to wait to see today to see what's in the EO. Trump did say this. The overall goal is we want law and order, and we want it done fairly, justly. We want it done safely, but we want it law and order.
Nope.
It's about law and order. But it's about justice also. It's about safety. So it's about a lot of things.
That was a direct quote.
Yeah.
I feel like that was just him copy and pasting from his tweets over the last.
Oh yeah, how many times?
Well,
right. Yeah.
Pretty much every word in that quote came out in a tweet that he tweeted.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, say what you know, right? What
under law and orders for him a day. 25.
That's a good Predictit market. www.predictit.org/promo/hardfactor20 to get a free 20 there. Yeah. Look, this is probably not it in terms of the executive order with the few police changes and probably a few more, the ones I mentioned, and we'll see what else is on there today. Trump is likely to call on Congress to pass additional legislation saying, stole your best ideas, come up with some new ones.
Right. Because that's what this is. This is a cucking EO. He's
whatever
policy
works.
Cucking. Yeah.
Give him the fucking pen. Give Donnie his pen. Let's get it signed. And now, a word from our sponsors. CBD helps me snooze CBD helps with my stress. CBD helps me feel less achy. I'm less sore when I take CBD. I feel calm when I take CBD. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's just me, though. And who says taking care of yourself needs to be hard? I mean, obviously, whoever does has never heard of Caliber CBD. That's for damn sure. What's great about CBD is that it helps you feel better without making drastic changes to your routine. It helps me get to sleep at night, as I mentioned earlier. It sure as shit calms me down, as I mentioned earlier. And the few times I work out and I'm about to get sore, I take Caliber to help with the soreness.
Oh.
How about that? Yeah. Caliper is a better way to consume. Go ahead, Will.
I'm just looking at my drink right now, and I'm just angry that I hadn't put a Caliper CBD packet in there.
You could put it in anything.
Angry at
And
myself,
They don't want us to say it, but you can literally put it in any liquid. A better way to consume CBD is Caliber. No tinctures, that leave that nasty taste in your mouth.
Caliper P.
Caliper, yeah, Caliper. No, none of those tinctures. You want Caliper with a P, CBD. It's a powder. It's odorless. It's tasteless. It goes in any liquid smoothly. You barely have to fucking stir it. Like I do like a little bit of a shake with the glass. It's dissolved.
Barely.
Yeah, barely. I mean, if you walk 3 steps, it's dissolved. There's precisely 20 milligrams in each packet of Caliper CBD. Never question how much CBD you're taking again. It's clinically proven that you absorb 450% more CBD with Caliper CBD powder compared to tinctures. That's absurd. You would need 90 milligrams of tincture per packet if I'm doing the math right per the packet of Caliper. And you can either get 10 or 30.
You have to eat a brick of CBD to get.
Yeah, exactly. You have to
The
use
other
that.
guy's
You have to
CBD.
spend $1 million in tinctures. I would get the 30 pack, and I have now 3 times. Gotten it 3 times. But anyways, it works in just 15 minutes. Guys and gals, I use it almost religiously. It's been a stressful year. Do yourself a favor and get some Caliper CBD packets. You'll thank me. And you get 20% off while you're at it. It's all natural, non-GMO ingredients, no fillers added, chemicals or artificial flavors, none of that crap. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code FACTOR at trycaliper.com/factor. That you can try Caliper CBD risk-free for 30 days. If you don't love it, you're not human, but they'll give you a full refund. That's trycaliper.com/factor. Don't forget promo code FACTOR. Get that 20% off your first order.
Hell yeah. Hey, and as a guy who never messed with the herbals before I dated a hippie chick, it's a whole new world of feelings in your brain that you haven't been experiencing. So if you're new to herbals, just get in on it. You'll really be surprised. It's like a whole new, it's like drinking a beer for the first time. You're like, whoa, I'm changing my brain chemistry. It's awesome.
Some chill out moods in there. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. All right, guys, we got huge news out of the sportsman's paradise because a new bill signed into law by Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards says the state of Louisiana will adopt daylight savings time as its year-round standard time. And this, of course, is pending changes in federal law that allow states to define their own daylight savings times. So what does this mean?
Yeah, what does it mean?
It got me thinking. I mean, what I do know is that the clocks are going to spring forward next March in Louisiana, and that'll be the last time they do that because they're never falling back if all goes to plan. So we're going to have a lot more time in the evenings, daylight time, I think, to party in the state that does debauchery best. But this, as I was writing this story, it really kind of brought up an interesting question. Do you guys understand daylight savings time?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, explain it to me,
It's
please.
for farmers, right?
No,
I think so.
Well, originally. Right now, it serves no purpose. But originally, it was for farmers who, I guess, needed more daylight. But I don't even know. I've heard that's bullshit, too. But basically, they now give you extra daylight hours in the summertime.
What about in the fall? What about the normal?
That's
like
when you
do fall back.
That's when you fall back and you get the sun.
But what was
earlier
the
in the morning.
purpose of getting more sunlight during the day?
So that you
always
could
thought it
be
was
awake,
so farmers could
farming
farm.
more. Yeah.
Well, also
Yeah.
people want to enjoy the long summer day. The weather's better, so you can enjoy the longer days when the weather is better. Get more farming done.
Here's my problem with
Okay.
daylight savings.
Yeah,
time.
please.
All right.
I got a lot of problems with it.
I got a huge problem here. Okay, you fall back. That's great. You get an extra hour's sleep. Do you take advantage of it? Do you notice it? Maybe, maybe not.
Oh,
What
it's
the- what the
stupid,
real
yeah.
what the real problem is when you spring forward and you take an hour. Fuck that shit. You need like a 5-to-1 or a 10-to-1 fall back ratio to one spring forward.
Look.
You take that hour from me, you're ruining my goddamn year. I don't like the spring thing.
You don't like losing.
Don't
an
ta-
hour.
I don't like losing an hour. I hate losing an hour 10 times more than I
Well,
like gaining an hour.
hey, you know who's not losing or giving an hour or changing anything? The Earth. The Earth doesn't
Right.
do anything different on these days, so you should
That's
probably
what I'm
just
saying.
keep it the same.
Yeah, it's true. The Earth is pretty consistent. But honestly, let's be honest. What the best possible scenario is with the fallback. It's not the extra hour of sleep. It's when you're at the bar on the night that the fallback happens, and it's about to turn 2 a.m. They're about to close alcohol sales.
Well, that's oftentimes,
and then bam, it's 1 a.m. again.
That's oftentimes Halloween weekend, and that is the only positive of daylight savings, in my opinion.
Pat, you're right, but in reality, I mean, it sounds good on paper. In reality, how many times has that worked out in your favor?
Oh man, at least. Well, I bet there's
2 or 3
every time,
college,
twice probably. But every time.
How many times does that hurt you?
A lot.
But were you gotten too hungover on Halloween? Almost
too drunk,
every
too
year.
hungover.
Almost every year. I blacked out on Halloween, and I blame.
It sounds
That's
great.
throwing out the baby with the
end well.
bathwater, saying that the hangover on Halloween.
I don't blame my. I don't
It's
blame
It's bullshit.
my drinking for my blacking out on Halloween. I blame the time change.
That's what late night's for. If you can't get it done in the bar by 1:45 a.m., which is, a normal state's closing time, then have late night. If you can't get it done by late night.
Negative Nancy, you are. Guys, that's okay, hold on. That's it for the news section of Hard Factor. We're going to get into an interview with Julio Rosas, who spent the last week in the Chaz, the Capitol Hill occupied zone, the autonomous zone, the 6-city block radius that's going to secede from the United States. And it's fucked up. Let's cut over to this Big J journalist interview with Julio Rosas.
Welcome to Hard Factor. U.S. Marine, meme economist, and a senior writer at Town Hall. Previously worked with the D.C. Examiner and Mediate as well. We have journalist Julio Rosas joining the show. Julio, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, guys, thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Julio, good morning.
Yeah, it's early. We're recording this early. This is way earlier than we normally wake up, Julio, FYI.
Especially on the Pacific time.
Yeah, thanks, asshole.
Will and Julio are up really early.
Yeah. So, Julio, you've worked at all those publications we just mentioned. And during that time, obviously in the last year especially, it's taken you to a lot of protests. So can you give us a little bit of a background, how you got from being in the Marines to being a journalist, and then all the protests you've been covering this year?
Yeah. So I'm actually still in the Marines. I'm currently a Marine Corps reservist. So that's how I started that. And so during that
Thank
time,
you for your service.
Appreciate that. So I was going to college in 2016. Didn't like it because I was doing business administration. And then when President Trump was elected, and all the craziness of that campaign, I knew that there was going to be a lot of work to do ahead for the next 4 years. And so I kind of made the decision to drop out of college and kind of gamble. And so I got an internship that I knew I could turn into a full-time job. And I was able to. And that was in 2017. And so I've been out and working in journalism in the DC area since 2017.
That's smart. We all grew up in the DC area, and I had heard that there was opportunities to be had at that changeover when the Trump administration came in, because so many people got shocked away from the Hill, basically.
Yeah, Trump makes our job pretty easy as political satirists or whatever, commenters, and Biden will too. We're sitting on a gold mine here either way, so yeah, understood.
This is going to be an interesting next 4 years. Absolutely, it doesn't matter who.
For sure.
It doesn't matter who.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So, I have a question for you. You've been going to these protests. I heard that you got hit by a rubber bullet in DC recently. Is that true? Were you struck by a rubber bullet?
So I can actually I can bring it over here in a second. But so this was in Minneapolis. So yeah. So
okay.
I've covered a lot of protests since my time. So I actually covered the protests at the RNC and the DNC in 2016. So I love going to protests because one, it just takes me out of the office. But then also just just kind of being a Marine where just, obviously I kind of like to be in a little bit of a dangerous situation. I'm not adverse to that. And so, I covered Charlottesville in 2017 and that was a fucking shit show.
Wow.
And,
yeah.
Were
you down there on the what do they call that in Charlottesville? The main street where?
Yeah, So I wasn't at where the car rammed the crowd. No. So really quickly. So the crowd had mostly left at that point. And so a friend of mine who was working at USA Today, he was the one that told me about it. We actually went to a nearby restaurant after because we thought it was over. And so we went to a nearby restaurant that was in downtown Charlottesville. and we're just eating, and all of a sudden we're looking at Twitter, and we're like, oh my gosh, like someone just rammed a car. And so
it was at the tail end.
Yeah. So we wrapped up, but this was like an hour after like most of everything had like dissipated, because like they marched away because, you know, obviously they were getting beat up and they got thrown out of the park. So we thought everything was over, and then unfortunately that whole thing happened. So yeah, so
lots of protests.
Yeah, I've covered like flag burnings in Washington D.C. and Antifa protests in D.C. I went to Portland in August of last year, and Portland, you know, has.
You could just stay in Portland,
right? Yeah, permanent setup camp. Yeah.
They got a vegan strip club over there. Did you go to the vegan strip club?
A vegan strip club.
I mean,
I don't know if it's the girls or the food, but it's vegan. And
only in Portland can I see that being a thing. No, so I've covered a lot of protests, a lot of riots, and then, you know, Minneapolis popped off, and you know, I could say that was I'm not saying this because there's, you know, the large Somalian population that's in Minneapolis, but it was a mini Mogadishu, just because of how chaotic and so much anarchy that was that happened, that I saw firsthand.
Was that the most the wildest, I guess, protest or riot that you've seen?
And that's why I referenced all the other ones, because I had never seen anything like that in my lifetime. And I'm only 24 years old, so I haven't been around.
Well, huge action caused a massive reaction in that case.
Right. No, exactly. And you also have to keep in mind that it was kind of like a powder keg, really. I mean, in across the country, right? Because we have more people out of work more than ever in recent history.
Right.
They're tired of being stuck at home. And it's just getting nicer. It's just nicer weather. I mean, in Minneapolis, like the weather was perfect. I mean, that was like the only perfect thing in Minneapolis was.
In Minnesota, they don't fuck around with indoor shit during the summer, because that is a cold ass
sacred
place.
month.
I can guarantee you this happened in December. Like it wouldn't have probably gotten as crazy, but because of
true.
Also,
also the like you mentioned, like the political and the cultural aspects of that town, and the history of the police brutality play into that as well.
Absolutely.
So like that was a major powder keg, major powder keg.
Yeah. So it was just a very bad combination of so let me actually, I should have had this right next to me. Let me go ahead and get the thing that I got shot with.
Yeah,
your souvenir.
So it was in Minneapolis where you were hit.
So this was so I got there Thursday afternoon. I was there when the 3rd precinct was abandoned. I actually got video of that, and I was actually one of the first people that had a video up with that.
Yeah,
and
everybody follow Julio's Twitter, because he has the craziest protest threads, always the fastest to the pictures.
You do really have some good stuff on there, but that was a humble brag with the first up on the.
Well, you know, it's part of my job. I gotta be. That's why I get.
You're like the Adam Schefter of protests.
That's why I got.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, no, I'll take that. I haven't been called that before, but I like that. So Friday, they came back with the National Guard and the state police, and so they set up a perimeter around the neighborhood of the 3rd precinct. So because like during the day, because there was a shopping center close by, so there was looting still going on during the day on Thursday. But then Friday they set up a perimeter, so there was no more looting in that area, but people were obviously still gathering on the outside of the perimeter, and things were generally peaceful during the day. I mean, they were kind of like shouting and getting in their faces, but they weren't like throwing punches or throwing shit. But then things got out of hand because the governor and the mayor decided to do a curfew. And so, and that was going to start at 8:00 p.m. And so 10 minutes before 8, they got on the loudspeaker saying, like, you know, you guys have 10 minutes to leave and go back home, or else this is going to be unlawful assembly. And, you know, and the crowd got really upset at that. And so that's when they started chucking shit and like bottles, rocks, branches, like throwing anything that they could throw at them. So obviously the police line and the National Guardsmen were shooting back with less than lethal, you know, tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper balls, and what have you. So me being the smart person that I am, me being the college dropout person that I am, I decided.
I'm a college dropout, Julio. Look at me.
Yeah, there we go. See, he knows.
Now you could look like this and have this a job like this.
See, he knows what's up. So I was thinking to myself, well, I don't want to be in the crowd because then I could potentially get shot. So how can I get the footage I need while like mitigating my risk? So they were out in the street, right? So they were in the street, the two sides, and there was a sidewalk. So I actually I went up on the sidewalk off to the side. So I was literally off to the side by myself in the middle as the police and the National Guardsmen were like pulling away. So I was getting footage of that. So I just gotten footage of the police line pulling back, and I was panning back over to the crowd. And then that's when this little thing made an entrance.
That's crazy.
Hit me.
That's enormous.
Yeah, so that kind of looks like
What's it like?
It looks like Axe body spray.
Is that really the size of the bullet?
Yeah. So this is the case.
You know what it looks like? It looks
It's
like
a
in
rubber
Mario.
shotgun shell, right?
In Mario, those bullets with the face on it. That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like a butt plug a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't know, Will.
anything's
Does
a
it?
butt plug if you're brave enough.
that's
true.
That's true. It's a good point.
That thing's enormous. What the fuck?
Yeah. So
it's like a foam shotgun shell, basically.
It looks like a pill that Dr. Mario, another Mario reference, would throw at you.
Not even a horse could swallow that pill. Though. That's like
it's a big
like a
pill.
comically large pill.
it's a Viagra suppository. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, but you got to have a pretty loose beehole to get that thing up there. That is real impressive.
What gauge is that? So is it fired out of like a, what do they fire that out of?
So it's
a clown gun.
So it's a 40 millimeter. So it's actually similar to. So it's basically like the non-grenade.
Hey! We don't fuck with the metric system on this show, bro. How many inches in diameter is it, bro?
I don't know. I'm bad at math. I don't know. I can't really guess.
Okay.
It. No, but it's like a launcher.
3
right?
inches for
A
launcher.
yeah, it's like a launcher.
Yeah.
It's
So
like,
yeah. So but that's what I'm saying. It's a 40 mic. So it's the non-grenade version of the. So instead of exploding, it just
right. It just smacks you and it's
yeah,
foam.
It's called the BIP, the bullet impact projectile. So
Damn.
Holy shit! I thought the rubber bullets were much smaller. Maybe pepper bullets.
I thought they were smaller too until it hit me.
Yeah.
Wait,
Right,
so
because that's not actually a bullet. That's
Now-
like
well,
you
now
said,
I
it's like a
can
grenade
see-
round kind
Yeah,
of.
now I can see why it's easy for these people to get hit by them. Because I mean, any idiot could just pull the trigger and hit someone with that size of a bullet.
Well,
Julio, be honest. Did you just buy that? I don't. Did you just buy that at the store and say you got shot with it?
I can show.
Are you trolling us?
No, I can show you.
Yeah, where's the bruise? How
Okay.
big was the bruise? You still have it?
Yeah. I mean,
Holy
Show us
shit!
the
this has
bruise.
been weeks.
I mean, if you
Show
get
us
hit by
the
that
bruise.
thing, you're gonna have a bruise
This
for
has been
life.
weeks.
Oh,
my
shit.
God, dude.
yeah. So
Holy
Julio,
shit.
hold the bullet up to it because it fits perfect.
It does. It's bigger than your dog tag. Oh man!
Oh my god!
Right in the stomach.
Shit.
So
Wow.
yeah, no. So yeah, it sucked. Like because I got shot with a pepper ball the day before. Again, like great job, Minneapolis police. But like that wasn't a big deal. Like it stung for a little bit, but like I'm not a bitch, so I just kind of wiped it off of me.
Yeah, but the foam grenade round that'll hit a little harder. Huh?
You can't shake that one off. You gotta take a knee and cry.
I didn't cry, but like I did like, so there was a small fence right by, because there was a U.S. bank that also got burned down. There was a U.S. bank right on that street, and there was a small little green fence. And so being, because I'm Mexican, so being, embracing my full heritage, I hopped over that fence after I got shot with the thing. And then some people were in the parking lot, so they helped me like kind of get up. And so I was just just had to take a sec because the wind got knocked out of me for a second there. And so I didn't know.
The bullet the size of literally one of your lungs knocked the wind out of you.
Yeah. Did you ever see action like that in the Marines, or was that the most action you've seen, getting hit with that 7-inch bullet?
Yeah. So I haven't deployed in my time. So so this is what I'm saying, that Minneapolis was like. So I can't put in for a Purple Heart, unfortunately. But. So that's what I'm saying. Like Minneapolis was just crazy all around. I realized that, I wasn't coughing up any blood. I didn't think I had any internal damage from it. And I didn't even know that I was bleeding until I pulled up my shirt like 10 minutes later to like check it out. So I still like, I had a job to do. And so like, I didn't have any trouble breathing. Like I was able to like get my breath back. And so I was able to. So I
just kept grinding.
So I had some first aid stuff in my pack because as I was doing, so I just cleaned it really quick.
Wow.
I patched myself up and I continued walking. Now
You really are the Adam Schefter protest.
Yeah,
Like,
that would have been a
no
that would have been a
scoop was
go
gonna
home for
sleep.
me.
Yeah.
That's it for me for the day.
Are you
I got
well,
about to rub a bullet. I'm out.
Julio, are you single?
Yes, I'm single.
So did you rock this? I mean, like I would be shirtless with this bruise you had because you
Good
would have
point.
gotten a
Weather's
lot
nice.
of
well, now
good
it's
prospects coming at you to check. You're like, hey man, what's up? And you're like, I know they shot me. It's terrible.
Julio, this is the equivalent to like a minor shark attack in Florida.
I know.
Like, you're gonna be getting whatever you want, man. If you show that bruise,
I know, and don't make a mistake, Julio, because we grew up with a good buddy of ours who got stabbed not once but twice. And I always used to say to him, show those scars off and tell that story, and he would get really angry with me for some reason. And I would say, chicks love stab wounds. They do, and also, especially during the cause, bro. Come on.
I'm just happy that I finally have like a pretty cool story behind a scar because I have these scars right here on my arm. But I got that from a scooter, like the electric scooter accident that I got into.
Yeah. Not nearly as cool.
Also
Definitely a better story.
And here's the thing: I actually did it to myself. It's not like a car ran into me. I just accidentally hit the brake lever.
It's just embarrassing.
And then I just flew right. I flew right over the handlebar. So that's
going to outweigh. That kind of balances out the tail you could be getting from the
brand new electric scooter. Wasn't the scooter's fault. Wasn't any car's fault. It was all you. Yeah.
So
that makes you human.
So when people would ask me like, oh, how'd you get? Because I had to put it in a sling because I hit I hit the pavement with this arm and it like caused like a bone bruise. And so people were asking me like, oh, what happened to you? Like, oh, you wouldn't believe it. ISIS attacked me with scooters on my way home.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I was trying to make it cool, but yeah. So no, so the cop was being a dick, obviously, but at least he was following the training where because obviously if this hit me in the eye or in the nuts, it would be not as cool. I'd be like blind or I would have lost my nuts.
Right. Probably not.
Yeah.
The stomach's a little bit better.
That could get both nuts. That was a pretty.
No. So I'd be a woman. Like I'm not even joking. Like that. That's how.
Yeah, you'd get pulverized with that.
So the cop was being a dick, but at least he was following the proper.
Well, you'd be a chick with a dick. That's not quite.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fun too.
Well, let's. You'd be protected thanks to the Supreme Court this morning.
Pride Month, guys. And SCOTUS got their back.
So let's move along. That was an incredible story about the bullet but the Chaz. You've been in the Chaz.
Yes.
Julio, come on, man. You got to give us some details.
We're very interested on the Chaz.
So everywhere else, as if you're paying attention, everywhere else has kind of calmed down from the rioting that happened like 2 weeks ago. And so I flew back to Los Angeles. I was recovering from Minneapolis. My mom had to tell me like, you need to stop going out because like the wound wasn't like scabbing over because I was still like out running.
You'll be processing all that for months, years.
So I had to take like 2 days off. I take 2 days off, and so I was just kind of like looking. And then over the weekend, I saw that Seattle was still like Minneapolis, where they were still fighting the cops, they were still bashing with each other. And so I pitched my bosses, hey, like send me to Seattle right like next and like as soon as possible. And so when I initially booked the trip, I thought it was still going to be like a Minneapolis type event. But then the day before I left, that's when the Seattle police announced that they were going to pull out of the East Precinct, which is in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. And so I didn't know what was going to happen then because I thought, oh, well, that's not going to be interesting then. Because again, I'm just thinking Minneapolis. But then once I got there, then
you were wanting more war zone, and not. Well, and you ended up in the Chaz, which is probably a welcome change.
It was. I did not get shot. I could say I did not get shot with a rubber bullet in Seattle, which is always a success. So yeah, so I just walked in and I saw there was barricades, and then all of a sudden I see like, yeah, this is a cop-free zone, and you're now leaving the USA, and welcome to the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? and of course, I've never been to Seattle. My only experience with Seattle is watching Frasier, which is a great show. But I've never been, and so people always tell me,
they have the fish market.
People always tell me.
Did you say Frazier?
Yeah, that's my only experience with Seattle.
I thought you said you were. I thought you said you were 24. That's like the average age of a Frazier watcher.
Yeah,
this current in 2020 is probably like 52.
I'm 34, and Frazier's too fucking old.
Frazier was like 3 or 4 years before us, so you had to be like 38 or 39 to like Frazier.
It would come out after. It would come out after Seinfeld,
It was
and you would just turn it off.
Cheers was a decade before us.
Yeah.
Frasier
Did you watch Frasier with an older person?
Well, let me ask you: Is it Kelsey Grammer doing a little bit of freeform jazz in the intro that you like so much, or what is it about Frasier?
I do like the tossed salad and scrambled eggs. I mean, that's
Okay, cool. You're an old soul, Julio.
Well, it was on Netflix, so I just started watching it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I started watching Cheers on Netflix. That makes sense.
Yeah, and so, so it's really funny because people always because I was told the same thing when I went to Portland. They're like, yeah, Seattle used to be such a nice city because there's homeless people. I saw my first, here in Los Angeles, obviously there's homeless people everywhere. There's homeless people in DC, and I'm originally from the Chicago area, so I saw homeless people there. But Seattle was the first time I saw a cross-dressing homeless person, which was that was
in Austin, Texas.
Yeah,
you got to come to Austin.
I will have to make a trip out there, for sure. But yeah, so people always tell me like, yeah, Portland used to be so nice, Seattle used to be so nice, and now it's not. And I just look around, I'm like, how the hell did this? Like, I can't envision it being nice because I'm just like in the.
Well, you were in the Chaz. Like, what's the vibe in the Chaz?
Wait a minute. You're saying the Chaz didn't have a Ritz-Carlton vibe? What are you talking about? What was going on in the Chaz?
Yeah, like how does it feel?
Yeah,
for those of you guys who don't know, the Chaz is the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Oh yeah, Pat. Let's go from the beginning.
Which is also known as potentially the CHOP now. So Julio's been hanging out in this zone, which is a 6-block area in the Capitol Hill area of Seattle. That's been taken over as an autonomous zone. Some are saying it's a succession from the United States. Others are saying it's just a protest zone. Yep. But police are not allowed there. And Julio's been point blank he's been deep in the Chaz. There are tennis courts in the Chaz that are highly contested. There's lots of things going on there, Julio. So much. From your experience, you went in there. What's the Chaz Chop situation going on? Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. So like I said, originally they were calling it the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, but as I documented, they're very not great at being an autonomous zone. They're very much reliant on the city still in a lot of ways. The only thing that they don't want is the cops. So like, for example, like there was a dumpster fire that occurred right outside. I know, right?
That's like some irony, right?
Yeah, I know, a little too on the nose. There was a dumpster fire that was right outside of the zone, and it threatened to set the building that it was right next to on fire. And if the building caught on fire, then it could spread into the actual zone because it's only a block away.
You don't want that fire spreading into the Chaz.
Yeah, exactly. If your Chaz is burning, you got to get that checked out.
Is anyone in the Chaz a firefighter?
Yeah, it would be a really short history book, unfortunately, right? Like one page.
And so they called the fire department, and to the fire department's credit, they came out and put out the dumpster fire.
That defeats the whole movement, though.
But that's just one example. That like the city is providing and servicing porta potties because obviously you can't just have people.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're providing them and cleaning them out.
That was a question we had. What's the bathroom situation?
Yeah.
Hold on, but let's figure out what's Chaz Chop. Let's answer Chaz Chop.
Yeah. So obviously they're not great at being an autonomous zone. So some of the leaders of the zone that's kind of emerging, they're trying to say like, oh well, Chaz was put on us. They're trying to say like people outside of the movement put.
Wait, but
Chaz
no, because there was all kinds of people from the thing tweeting Chaz day one.
So it's already a weekend and they're already rewriting history. So they they were like makeshift street signs saying "Welcome to the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone." Like they were really embracing.
Well, that's step one, though. Honestly, when you form a new zone, the most fun part before you actually have to get into like building government is signs. Like writing the sign is huge.
Right.
Like you, because
I was saying.
Yeah.
What I was saying yesterday is like the most charismatic person, in this scenario, when it's really unorganized, like the loudest and most charismatic person is going to get their way. So someone early on like Chaz and no one was really there to argue it at the first couple days.
So the CHOP is Capitol Hill.
So the CHOP is it's either stands for Capitol Hill Occupied Protest or Occupy Protest, kind of like Occupy Wall Street.
Okay.
Don't model it after
or the other one that I saw that was, again, this came from one of the leaders. He said, well, actually, it could also stand for the Capitol Hill Organized Protest, which I can tell.
Well, that's not true.
Which I can tell you, it's another misnomer because it's not. It is starting to get more organized, right? But that first week was just an absolute shit show. Because the thing that people need to understand, and this is why it's hard to report on it if you're not there. It's a very free flowing, fluid area because again, it's a loose coalition of all these different types of groups. They do kind of have the common goal. Defund.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like when at a camping music festival, when everyone arrives on the first day of the music festival, trying to figure out where your zone is, where you're going to put your tent, and what the rules of your campground are. This is what the Chaz Chop sounds like to me. You have all
everyone's common goal at those music festivals is to get fucked up and have fun. What is the common goal? You were just saying. You think there is a common goal?
Yeah, the common goal is to defund and dismantle the police department, the Seattle Police Department. So that's kind of like why they're all. But they have other goals, right? Because you have like the Democratic Socialists of America there. You have Black Lives Matter there. You have Antifa,
right.
Black Bloc.
There was that 30 list that they
right, exactly. So they're viewing this as basically like a revolution to transform the city of Seattle and defunding and dismantling, getting rid of the Seattle Police Department is like their first step because obviously they want like more taxes on Amazon that can go towards more social justice programs and what have you, more jobs and stuff like that. So that's why people were talking about like armed checkpoints and searching like. That did happen, but like it depended on when you were there because the guard rotations like change out like on an hourly basis. Because
who's in charge of the guard and why is there a guard and what's the guard situation?
So the guards are there to keep out white supremacists, which can be anybody that they think is a white supremacist. They're there.
Well, they have a lot of weeding out to do because isn't it like predominantly white people?
Oh yeah. Seattle is heavily white, and there's evidence of that because because in their makeshift garden that they have in the park nearby, there's a plot specifically for Black people, Indigenous people, and I'm quoting their Black allies. Or no, sorry, they're plant allies. Plant allies. Yeah. The other gardens are full. That plot is pretty empty. When I last checked on Saturday. So there's not a lot of people of color that are gardening there. I mean, yeah, there's.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So there's just nobody's gardening in it because there's not enough. There's mostly white people.
Yeah, there's not enough.
It also could because planting a garden usually means you're going to have access to that garden for a long period of time to reap what you sow, as they say. Maybe people aren't planting in that area because they know that they won't have the fucking garden in probably 2 weeks.
Right. But Julio, like you said, so like I was estimating it's probably 80% white people. So you can let me know if I'm right on that.
Yeah.
And then the goal is not necessarily the Black Lives Matter movement, in your opinion. It's the Black Lives Matter is part of it, but it's mainly defunding the police from multiple different groups of people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's why, and that's so there's and that's again, this is kind of one of the fractions that or the cracks that are starting to appear because. On Friday night, again, because they wanted to change it from Chaz to Chop, there's people trying to take down the makeshift street signs. And it's like half the people wanted it to be taken down and half the people didn't. And and there was like, and I document this. So the guy was on a ladder. He got off the ladder. There was like a power struggle over control of the ladder. And there was a Black guy who got a hold.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. He got a hold of a megaphone and he started like chastising them. He's like, guys, like, what the hell are we doing? Like we're fighting.
Oh yeah, that video is awesome.
Yeah, like we're fighting over a street sign. Like seriously, like we don't take down Pine Street, which is like one of the streets that it's on. Like we're not taking down Pine Street because it doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing here. Like why are we all here? And then like some of the crowd was just like, oh, Black Lives Matter. And he's like, yeah, you're answering slow because you're too busy partying and dancing. Like you're losing sight of the movement. Like you have to remember why we're all here. And everyone's just like, yeah. So yeah, there's people there that are enjoying again because of the lockdowns and because Burning Man's been canceled.
Right.
Oh my God, I didn't think about that. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think this was burner
party.
overflow.
This is a party.
Oh,
guys.
I've never been
this-
happier. Reno's not going to be covered in sand this year.
Right. So there's people that are. It is a block party essentially.
Yeah.
During
It's an escape.
during the day. Now, again, as I saw in Minneapolis and as I saw in Los Angeles, things change at night and not for the better. And like during the night, I saw like 5 fights break out.
But hang on.
Yeah.
I mean, like that has. I mean, anywhere you go, if there's a large group of people and you're partying all day, it doesn't matter what age, race, like what your cause
There's
is.
gonna be
you're going to
fights.
get in fights. When you're fucked up after an entire day of partying, you're going to get in
Yeah,
arguments.
that's like New Orleans and any day that ends in a Y.
That's
Also-
college. That's
Yeah.
anywhere. That's anything.
Yeah, I've been to Bourbon Street and I almost got into a fight. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody, look, that's just the way it
Go
works.
to
in that-
Morgantown, West Virginia.
or go to one of these hippie concerts. There's fights there.
Yeah.
Look, what's the economy like, right? Because like if in a situation like that that's so fluid, how people is it money or
Is
what?
it Bitcoin based?
No, so people are going to like the nearby businesses like that's both inside the zone and outside the zone. There is like people selling t-shirts. There's people there was like a hot dog stand guy that I'm sure is making bank because like there's always like a long line there every night. But then there's also the no cop co-op shop. And
saw that.
yeah, and everything there was free. You could anything you want. And so there's multiple like stations in the zone.
As long as you're not a cop, then you have to pay.
I guess so.
Coffee is $100 a cup.
Yeah.
So it's a mix, right? Like there's some free market capitalists who are making money, right? They're selling their goods,
they're
but
making
then
money off the jazz.
but then there's also people that are like just take what you want, take what you need, and there was a clothing store, not store, but there was a clothing station where you could like donate clothes and also take clothes, but then instead of having a tent simply marked like mental health counseling, they labeled it the feelings station, which is just like come on guys, like you're going like beyond parody here at this point.
Some people are going to misinterpret that and not understand what the feeling station means when they get in there.
Yeah, there were a few
They'd be
jokes
super
about that when I tweeted that. So someone made like,
I hope
like
there's
yeah,
someone
that's
good in the
that-
feeling station when I get in there. You never know. It's luck
Yeah.
of the draw, but I hope when I get
Someone
in
made
there.
Ready? Blindfold me. I got my hands out.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
somewhat-
I'm going to do my business either way, but I hope, you always hope it's a good looker in
This
there.
is a couch.
It's-
Do you want me to sit on the couch? Okay, it's a therapist.
Someone made the joke that was like Joe Biden's campaign tent.
Nice.
It's just surrounded by Suave shampoo bottles.
So Julio, what are the odds that this ends horribly? It's obviously like a joke. We think it's very funny. It's very peaceful so far. That like
But
no
it's-
one really.
it-
It
it's
seems
mostly-
unorganized. What are the odds it ends horribly?
It's mostly peaceful. That's what it's mostly. But like there are some because like I documented this mob of people that almost beat up this kid with a baseball
Saw
bat because they accused him of stealing a phone, and it turns out he didn't steal the phone. So
But then there's the group of people that maybe it was a troll, maybe not, that said if someone steals your phone or your laptop, it's actually a donation because they might need it more than you.
well,
So
yeah,
it's good to
yeah,
yeah.
your laptop. No, our laptop.
Right.
Yeah. So here's the thing. They're in it for the long haul. Because on my first day, there's a gay nightclub called the Cuff that was kind of like a supply drop off point because I mean you have to remember, right? Seattle is a very progressive liberal city, so there's a lot of people that are generally supportive of this movement. So they're if they're not going to go out and stay out in the park at night, they're more than happy.
They're going to fund the Chaz.
Right? Yeah. They're more than happy to give donations, and I saw like water, non-perishable food, toiletry items, medicine, like all sorts of stuff, and so. They're in it for the long haul. Like the tent city is expanding. Like there's a lot more tents than.
Could the Chaz grow and eventually take over like more of the city?
So this is all dependent on the city allowing them to do that. So I
What if
know
Seattle just becomes Chaz?
it's gonna become a
How
shit.
many
Shop,
people
Will.
are
It's gonna-
how many people are spending the night there compared to who's going home?
Probably around like 100 people. Like it's growing, right? So like when I left, like it started out like a few tents, like maybe like 5 or 6 on Tuesday. There's now like over like 60 tents.
Honestly,
now there's go ahead. If
I'm in the Chaz and I'm picking up more blocks, I'm thinking add the name of the city to the demand list is what I'm thinking.
If I'm in the Chaz, I'm smashing ass every night. There's gonna be so many Chaz babies, like
No,
that many
Mark,
tents.
no,
There's
no,
gonna be so many Chaz babies.
You're so wrong, Mark. You're so wrong.
No, I'm gonna be smashing. I'm gonna be getting drunk. I'm gonna be getting high. I'm gonna be having a good time. I'm gonna be not thinking clearly about the movement.
Mark,
and I'm gonna be smashing cheeks every night.
Mark, I'm gonna ask you, and I know the answer to this question. Have you ever smelled your own dick on Sunday night of a camping music festival?
Camping,
So Pat, I would definitely also secretively have like a hotel room nearby where I would go and shower, and then I would be smashing ass that night.
Oh, wow.
I have to go
hey,
leave.
Mark,
You got a whole plan.
Mark, I'm not talking.
Absolutely.
Mark,
I'm about to go to Seattle. Well, I'm married.
Mark, I was using
in my past life.
I was using the smell of your own dick as an allegory for the other person's
I'm gonna
genitalia.
bring my wife to Seattle.
I'm saying,
No.
imagine the other person's genitalia. The smell of your own dick isn't going to
As
bother
drunk
you.
as he's going to be, he's
it's
not going to
theirs.
care though. In that situation, he was just
Pat,
saying.
if like remember college? Did you?
Yeah, I was there.
My wife just gave me a dirty look.
Well,
Do you
we
remember college?
We digress. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you really you get drunk and you're smelling crotch? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, bro, it's you're underestimating how smelly a crotch is going to be after 5-6 days
I have a feeling,
in the Chaz.
Julio, did you ever spend the night there? Did you? How late were you there? Were you there when people went to bed?
Yeah, so I stayed out until midnight. Because I'm not a damn hippie communist, I stayed in a hotel room and I showered.
I have a feeling there's
nearby.
noises you can hear between the hours of like 1 and 4 a.m. Like
Okay.
a series of moans.
Hold up.
Yeah.
So
Julio,
Julio, you pointed something out. Hippie communists, right? So you know, as someone who aligns with these people, these are normally my people. I'm frustrated, especially watching some of your videos because it seemed like I think you posted a video yesterday, or the day before. Maybe some Proud Boys came into the space and they were rocking an American flag, or they were perceived to be Proud Boys. Someone took their American flag away. And like, look, here's the thing: fuck Proud Boys. Everyone can agree on that, right?
So really quick.
I
did ask them if they were Proud Boys, and they said no. They said they were. Yeah.
Cool.
So
let's give a example. The crowd thought they were right. So fuck Proud Boys. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
They took the American flag away from them, right?
They stole it. Yeah.
You know, whatever. Hey, that's like get in that fight if you guys want to get in that fight. But my point was, someone came over and was like, "What are you guys doing?" Like the whole point of this is to have all voices. Like, if they want to have their voice here, and the example is them having an American flag, which is not that crazy of an idea, right? Just to kind of give an idea. If they want to have their voice here, they should be able to have their voice here. I feel like people should be yelling Patrick Henry. I feel like there's just a lack of organization and some really misguided ideals. And it seems like it's coming from anger, and I understand that in some respects. Like, it's weird. It's like people have almost overcorrected
Social experiment
and gone into the side of no, we shouldn't allow these people to speak because what they have to say is dumb and hateful. And it's like, yeah, you're right, it is dumb and hateful. But like once you start denying their ability to say that, then you're kind of
you become the thing
being
that
subversive. Yeah, exactly. Towards what makes America great.
Well, yeah.
Pat, have you been on Twitter in the past 5 years?
Yeah, here or there, usually in the evenings.
This is just a magnifying glass on it.
Yeah,
you know
someone made the joke that Chaz is basically Twitter becoming a town.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Yeah, right. No, it was that whole thing was very, because obviously, they knew they were going to get a reaction walking in there with American flags, but I can say the American flag people were very peaceful. They were just walking in there. And right, this is supposed to be, a very open society, right? This is supposed to be like a free flowing zone where everything's accepted. Well, except for people with American flags. And there was actually one guy who was because, the guy that was holding the biggest American flag was a black man. And they were calling him a white supremacist. And one of the Chazers, one of the Chazers was asking him, they're like, wait, how is he a white supremacist just by holding an American flag? Like, that's not, that doesn't make him a white supremacist. He's like, no, he's a white supremacist. And it was like it was an unfortunate incident, right? Because, they were just walking through, just like anybody else. They just had American flags, and then they stole it. They stole one. They tried to steal the last one, but they were forced out.
There's no leadership or common sensibility of ideas.
Wait, have you met Raz Simone?
I interacted with him a little bit on Tuesday, but
Oh, wow.
before he became known as the Warlord, because he did have, he had like the tactical vest on, he had a Serpa holster, but there was no gun in there at the time. It was only at night when he decided to go. At night,
Cool nickname, the Warlord.
Yeah, the Warlord. Yeah. So no, and I can say that Chaz. So not only did they deport those American loving patriots, I guess, they also have a freedom of the press issue, and I can say, because, and this happened to me, this happened to a few of my colleagues, but whenever,
there's videos of them shouting down journalists.
Yeah, like they're more. It's like North Korea. They're more than happy to show off all the great stuff that they have going on there. But as soon as something bad starts happening, they don't want you to record that. That happened to me like 3 times. One time, a guy was just simply asking. He's like, "Hey, please don't record that." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not in the zone because this happened right outside." I'm like, "Well, I'm not in the zone technically." So, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm just asking you." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And he just kind of left me alone after that. The second guy, and this is when like the crazy street preacher was getting like chokehold on the stage. This was Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Right, which is something, by the way, we all want to do, but you just don't do it. You don't. There's the guy shouting you down on the street
corner preacher.
Yeah, you want to punch him out, but you don't. That's the point.
If you're going to advocate against chokeholds from the police, you probably shouldn't do chokeholds yourself against people. And so I was recording that, and then there was this guy who was masked. He put his hand in front of my camera, and I was like, "Excuse me," and I was trying to move it away, and so I walked away, but he was following me. But because the crowd was like thick and he was on like on the other side of a line of people, I just juked him. I just made a U-turn and went right back to my original spot. And he was still bothering me. And so I was done filming anyway, because the thing was already over. And so I got him to get away from me by taking pictures of him. I'm just like, smile. And that's when he finally left me alone.
At least your camera is somewhat of like a shield,
I would imagine most people in Chaz have a short attention span. You just easy to juke them or trick them.
Well, yeah, just say, "Hey, there's free tofu over there," and half the crowd will just go that way.
It's very
Even the Chaz, guys, honestly, because this is a social experiment that we're not gonna be able to recreate. This is a unique scenario.
Oh, it's very interesting.
It's so interesting. It's so fucking interesting.
Yeah,
I do think that they should definitely go full-fledged on the change to CHOP, because anything named zone's usually not good, like a demilitarized zone.
Right. Well, also
autonomous zone.
Also, if they're
that doesn't scream like welcoming or fun.
It sounds like they're receiving tons of civilian and government help, so it's not an autonomous zone. So more than anything, they were just tired of being made fun of for not being autonomous, which is because you guys aren't being autonomous at all. Like you guys are. Yeah, CHOP.
CHOP.
It's officially the CHOP now. Yeah.
But I don't know. People are so used to calling it Chaz now that
right. It's a branding issue. You start with that name, you're never going to get people
you're
to
stuck
forget
with it. Yeah, so people are still going to be calling it Chaz. I'm doing like Chaz/CHOP just to like, I just go with the times. I don't know.
It's like Overstock.com. Then they have to explain it every commercial.
Yeah, it's like, but then you're wondering, it's like, is it actually Overstock or are they lying to us? Are they?
And then you just don't care at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of like when you go to Marshall's and you buy something, you think you're getting a deal, and it's got like 2 left sleeves on the shirt. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, or like the thread that's just like off the
Marshall
right on
should
the
be
front
called
of the
rejects.
Yeah,
I know.
And you didn't see it, and then you paid the $15.99 for what
what we mean,
$40.
Julio?
Oh I haven't been in the Marshalls in a while, so.
Tommy Hilfiger.
No, I mean, I think Pat was saying, like, how do we fix the bigger problem, Julio? Where do you...
Yo, that guy's got a Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Marshalls. Man.
Yo, dog, you get that at Marshalls?
hey, we got a little long. Julio, what do you think, any thoughts from somebody who's been in the mix, like in the thick of all the protesting? You've probably seen a lot of interactions. You got shot by a non-lethal round. You've seen tons of interactions between National Guard, police, protesters, and been talking to a lot of people who are upset about what's been happening with police brutality. Do you see what do you see as the next steps that could be helpful for everybody in the country?
Well, one, stop burning sage. I'm sick and tired of smelling sage and weed at these damn things. So that's my.
Julio, we split on that point. What's the next one?
Are they trying to get rid of? Are they trying to get rid of ghosts?
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of the bad vibes, like literally, because like as the people were fighting, that street preacher, there was literally a guy burning sage like around.
Julio, that's okay.
That's awesome.
That's okay.
All right, what
Okay,
else?
yeah, we're split on the sage burners. But.
Yeah, after you smell it for like 3 days in a row, you get tired of it. Anyway, so no, so I mean, look, obviously, like there's righteous anger over the George Floyd situation, right? But I can say from being in Minneapolis and being in Seattle, it doesn't. It one, it detracts from the message when as soon as like rioting and looting starts, because to give an example, in Minneapolis, over like close to 300 businesses were either looted or burned down. And I know that there's the argument coming from people saying like, well, you know, Target's going to be fine. Like the big grocery store chains, yeah, they're going to be fine. They're going to be able to cover it. But not all 300 of those businesses were like Fortune 500 companies. A lot of them, especially because of Minneapolis, how diverse it is, there were minority-owned businesses that were targeted and in some cases destroyed and burned down. And so to see people, and this is where I get upset with the celebrities that were trying to like bail out the protesters in Minneapolis. They weren't bailing out peaceful protesters. They were bailing out the rioters and looters who were hurting minority-owned businesses. And these celebrities, and this is where my conservative side is going to come out, and these celebrities trying to score their virtue signal woke points to their Twitter following, instead of helping out the minority-owned businesses that were hurt and targeted, they were helping out the people that destroyed them. And that
misguided use of charity.
Yeah, it is absolute. And I was there, and I got really upset at that because I saw firsthand, like there were Somalian immigrants who had to stand outside their cafe because they were trying to break in, or the crowd was trying to break in and destroy it. And so
I do want to bring up a counterpoint. I will say that I think everyone at least should agree that small business owners that were in the crosshairs, collateral damage, that's unfair to them and it sucks for them. But I think that, you know, there was such an anger and nothing's been changed for so long that this reaction is naturally going to happen. And sometimes, unfortunately, you have to scream so loud for changes to get made.
Yeah, but again, and like I said, I get that, but you don't direct it at people who didn't have anything to do with it in the first place. Like again,
sure.
like
a lot of innocent bystanders. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like I totally get the anger behind it. And like, yeah, like the George Floyd situation was absolutely terrible and it was wrong. But you don't help out your community by destroying people's livelihoods or in some cases hurting them. Because like another example, in Minneapolis, when this was Saturday, so they were coming out in full force to enforce the curfew. Because Friday night they completely failed in enforcing it. Saturday night they actually came out and came out and forced use tear gas and dispersed people. They pushed them out of the 5th precinct because they were trying to burn that down. They pushed them out of the 5th precinct into the nearby neighborhoods. And so trying to disrupt the police line, they were building barricades out in the neighborhoods and setting it on fire. There's an African-American man who lived right there on that street. He came out and said, "Hey, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, are you going to clean up this mess after you leave?" He's like, "No, you guys aren't going to clean this up. We're going to have to clean it up." And like, it's one thing. It's like, okay, it's one thing if it was just like a makeshift barricade, but they set it on fire, right? They're burning plastic. They're burning, it's not great.
Lost in the sauce, as they say. Yeah.
And so, and this guy was like saying, like, the crowd was getting angry at him. They're telling him to go home, and he's like, "No, I live here. Like, you're messing up our neighborhood. Like, stop." And like, this is how you're like. He's like, "Well, we're trying to save people." He's like, "This is how you're trying to save people by like trashing our neighborhoods." Like that doesn't. So that's what I'm saying. I get the anger. I get it, but they're shooting themselves in the kneecaps by destroying their own neighborhood, by destroying their own neighborhood.
Don't crap where you eat.
Right. So I totally get why they wanted to burn down the 3rd precinct. Not that I agree with it, but like I get why they targeted that police building. But then they just spread out and hurt other people that had nothing to do with it. So
well, hopefully, I mean, I think we all can agree that hopefully things stay nonviolent, like the chop, right? Like as like so you know where businesses owned by anybody aren't being targeted and aren't being damaged.
Yeah, and it wasn't just businesses; it was like also homes, right? They're like because like burglary,
right, and personal property,
burglaries increased, assaults, like personal assault. Like I had to show off my rubber bullet wound because I was about to do my Fox News hit, and obviously I didn't want to tell. Yeah,
oh yeah.
No, because obviously I didn't want to tell these angry people that I was with Fox News, right? And so I showed it off to them. You know, say like, "Hey guys, look, I'm not really happy with the police right now because look, I got shot by them." And actually, it worked. Like, thankfully, like, and so one of the guys like, "Oh, okay, bro, like you're cool." And so like, there's still some people that were angry with me, but like the other half of the crowd like pushed them away from us. Sure. So, but like, so I didn't know, and I can say like I'm prepared to defend myself because like I don't go into these situations just completely unarmed. I won't go into much detail about with what, but I don't plan on dying.
Sack
in
of
these.
pennies.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You got to have those oranges on hand.
Yeah, just a tube sock with some bars of soap.
Naranjas.
That'll knock it. I mean, that's effective. Did you see the prison guards got knocked out by the sock of soaps? I digress, but
Yeah,
you can knock someone out with
look.
this. So.
Yeah, well, we hope you stay safe, Julio, too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're out there covering these protests.
Give us some hope, though, Julio. We need a sound clip. Like, compare this to other protests outside of the violence and rioting and the burning.
Yeah. So
what is the vibe? What is the vibe in this protest that's different than others? And do you think it ends well?
So yeah. So like I said, so it's generally peaceful. It's kind of peaceful. It is like a block party atmosphere because again, people are tired of the lockdown, so they're kind of taking advantage of that. In terms of it ending well, it could go either way because they were also talking about moving the zone away from the East Precinct or completely dissolving it. So I think this will go on as long as the city, state, and federal government will allow it to.
And what about 2020 protests in general across the United States and internationally? I'm saying, like, what's the difference between this and the 2016 ones you covered? Do you think legislation comes and you think protests end? I think, like the broader picture.
Yeah.
I
think absolutely we can see more police reform, but I mean, as we kind of see, because there's debate over qualified immunity. There's debate on whether or not that should come and go. I don't know if I can give really a hopeful message because what I'm saying is that when they talk about defunding the police, like the people that are out in the street, they want a complete dismantling of the police department. But when you look at the legislation, they're talking about, oh, no, we're not talking about getting rid of police departments. We're talking about just like redirecting funds.
Right, it's totally night and day.
It's a night and day difference. So So even the people that are on the same side of the issue, they're kind of diverging on what exactly defunding the police means. And so,
do you have any confidence in Congress that they will be able to get something that actually makes sense?
Confidence in Congress?
Yeah, right. Do you have? I mean, do you think that they can work together to get something that makes sense?
Lie to our listeners, Julio.
I think Congress can get something done. I mean, look, to their credit, they did get some stuff done during the coronavirus, like during the height of the pandemic, getting checks out to people. And so I think there is enough anger and enough support to get something done. It's just a matter of what exactly that is, because there's Republicans who are against ending qualified immunity, and obviously defunding police departments is a non-starter. Democrats are, they're trying to figure out what exactly defunding the police means. So I think something can be done. It's just a matter of what. And again, just because of how fluid the situation is, we won't know until President Trump signs on the dotted line. So I think something can get done. It's just a matter of what.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Julio. I know you taught us a lot about protests. I know more now than I did going into this conversation. And really, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, no, I love Barstool, and glad to be on here.
All right, and that's going to do it for Hard Factor. Nice interview there with Julio. Thanks for joining. I hope you guys learned a little bit about I don't know, the Chaz protesting. Rubber bullets is what I learned about. They're enormous. Thanks for listening. You guys, we've said it several times this week. We have the best listeners. We got two great listeners and longtime listeners on the Sirius Radio today at 11. Check it out. Get your free trial of Sirius Radio at Power 85, Barstool Power 85, 11 a.m. Eastern to noon today. Keep listening, keep spreading the word. We really need your support. 5-star reviews, and have a great fucking day.